What's up, guys? Chaz
and Trista
here with Side Hustle Pros, and we have a special guest speaker for y'all tonight. I am really excited because Larry from Watch Me Amazon has been one of the biggest accounts I think a bunch of us follow because of his wholesale knowledge bombs that he drops all the time. He's given out, man, you give out some of the most in-depth information for free. I think most people do. So welcome, Larry. We're super excited.
Thanks. Yeah, man. I'm trying to do the jab, right hook, Gary Vee style, you know?
Yeah. I love it, man. And you got to hang out with Gary Vee at his office, right?
Yeah, I went there once.
How was that?
It's pretty surreal, man. I can't even believe it happened. You know, it came and went so fast. But for those who don't know, I won like one of his little Instagram challenges. He invited me over, spent the day with him, just followed him around from different appointments around the city, sat in. Literally, it was so crazy how much like access I had to him. I like sat in on like executive meetings in his office with him and like other bigwigs and other people just coming in all day, a couple of like different celebs and Instagram stars. And I just sat in the corner like a fly on the wall. He had me in there the whole time. It was so cool.
Man, that's awesome.
That's crazy.
So for those of you that don't know who Larry is, Larry, you want to give a rundown, your story, like if you guys ever get to talk to this guy, like where he started to where he is now. If you want to give a snapshot of kind of where you are today and then just reverse that into how you got started.
Yeah.
We've got a lot of people that want to get into the wholesale game. It's a lot of RA and OA going on. And they're running into those same fears, those same roadblocks that we all start with that you probably started with too.
Yeah, so just to bring everyone up to speed, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. I'm 38 years old. Been doing Amazon now for going on about 6 years. Started from wholesale, built a big wholesale business. About a year ago, I got on Instagram just with the desire to kind of share and document my journey. I didn't see too many people who specifically do wholesale putting out too much content. There was maybe one or two people out there, so I wanted to do that. Been sharing for the last year, and ever since I found this awesome community of fellow Amazon sellers of all the different business models on your Facebook group, YouTube, Instagram, just a whole community of different entrepreneurs, all after the same goal, all trying to get money, which is what we're trying to do at the end of the day. And just building this network and joining this network and meeting people like you guys and all these different sellers, and it's just awesome community. And yeah, that's basically where we're at.
I love it, man. And if you guys have questions along the way, we're going to kind of grab those questions and then get these little Q&A slots for you guys. And Larry, let's just throw out what were your sales last year, just so people get an idea of what we're dealing with here.
18 million.
Just he knows his game just a little bit. We're not talking about like, oh yeah, I do a few thousand a month. Like this guy knows his stuff. And I love your Instagram too, because I don't know why I'm a big fan of like B-roll footage.
That's the only reason I watch you, Larry. I'm just kidding. But I love those
time lapses.
The time lapses. I love
time
that
lapses.
stuff.
Oh my gosh.
You get to see your work. And how many employees do you have?
For the amount of business that we do, surprisingly not that many. So I have myself and I have two partners, which aren't really employees, but they're here and they work every day full time. So I have two partners. Each partner manages a different marketplace. So I have one guy helping me with the US business. I have another person helping me with the UK business. And then we have three staff. And two of those are full time. And then we have like an extra one or two just kind of on an as needed basis.
Man, so yeah, the level you're doing, you're maximizing everything you can do with that workflow. That's amazing. Yeah, so if you guys don't already follow him, go over to Instagram, just type in Watch Me Amazon. You'll see him pop up. I just love seeing behind the scenes stuff. So the content you post is right up the alley of the stuff I love to watch too.
Yeah, man. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, it's so unsexy, which is it's like work. Everyone thinks that we just do, we sell a few hundred items and make, so much money or whatever, but it's like what you show is very real. These are boxes. We're going to unpack them and put a sticker on them and put them back in a box and ship them away. Like it's not it's not sexy, but it gets.
Well, that's the difference. That's the difference between private label and all the other types of Amazon business models that are out there, is that, private label does require some work, but if you wanted to work from home or work off site and have your manufacturers just do all the shipping for you, a lot of times in private label, you can kind of build a business where you don't even have to touch your products if you don't want to. But wholesale and online arbitrage and retail arbitrage, you have to put in the work and get your hands dirty. There's a lot of it that's not sexy, whether it's, just labeling and unpacking boxes all day, or, sitting in front of a computer and doing, online sourcing, or if you have to go out there and hit the, the different discount stores and thrift shops or whatever. It's a super unsexy work, but, it pays the bills at the end of the day. And I think that's why we all do it.
Absolutely.
I love it, man. I want to deep dive into like what your everyday looks like. I'm just going to put you on the spot because Larry and I we haven't talked about any of this, by the way. So we're just doing super laid back, casual night here. So Think back. This may have been a while back for you, but think back from going from $1,000 per month in sales. That may have only been a short little while for you, but think of going from 1,000 to 10,000 a month. What does that look like in the wholesale game? Is it obviously you gotta find more products and source and get better with your sourcing, but talk about like what it takes to go from 1,000 to 10,000. I feel like that middle ground is where a lot of that's kind of where we're hanging out. That's where a lot of our audience is.
So it takes two things. It's, much like online arbitrage and retail arbitrage, wholesale is sourcing the same exact way. It's the, more or less the same business model. The only thing that's different about it is online arbitrage, you're sourcing online. Retail arbitrage, you're sourcing in person. Wholesale, you're kind of sourcing off of these big wholesale lists, price lists, catalogs, and stuff like that. So just hours and hours and hours of repetitive sourcing, especially in the beginning. I didn't know anything about any kind of software or tactical arbitrage or any of these scanning tools. Everything is just, I posted a video of it on YouTube, just me going through a list, old school style, and just, looking at a price list, looking at a brand, looking it up on Amazon, seeing if the rank is good, seeing if there's any profit, any margin in it, and just doing that over and over and over again, monotonous. And then really the only difference how one would go from 1,000 in sales to 10,000 in sales is, you have to find more products, but then you have to have the capital to actually buy those products. And if you're starting off with, maybe 1,000 or 2,000 bucks, you can turn that around easily and, spin that into 1,000 or 2,000 a month in sales. If you have a little more to buy with, you're going to have a little bit more sales right off the bat. Wholesale typically only deals with really, really, really fast turnover, fast moving items that you're going to sell very quickly, nothing that you really want to sit on. So you put money in, you get money back right away pretty quickly. And then it's all just either, figuring out where you're going to get the capital from to grow your business, or doing what I did. And I didn't start with a little amount. I started with a pretty sizable amount, but after that, that's all I had. And it's just kind of snowballing the money. So if you start with $5,000 worth of stuff, maybe you can spin it into 6.5, but you take that 6.5, you buy 6.5 worth of stuff. Maybe you'll spin it into 7. You'll take that 7. You'll buy some other products. Maybe you'll turn that into 9, and just like a snowball effect, just keep reinvesting your money. I think the one thing people underestimate about wholesale is it's very much you're playing the long game. The goal is to build and establish a long-term business. Takes time. It's not overnight. It's not super sexy. There's a certain, it's much like, from all the business models, it's the most like actually starting a real, brick and mortar business. There's investment that goes into it, and time and effort, and you might not, pay yourself a salary for 6 to 12 months, even though you're making money. You just want to reinvest it all into the business. But that's the one, differential from wholesale and, maybe doing online arbitrage or retail arbitrage. That's more like flipping stuff if you want to, just make a couple of bucks, extra couple grand a month. But if you really want to turn it into a big sizable business, and I know some OA and RA guys, much like yourselves, who've built big businesses. It's playing the long game, and it's building up these businesses from, I don't know how long you guys have been doing it, but think back to where you were a year or 2 or 3 years ago, and it's just always this constant growth.
Yeah, and so one thing that you were talking about long game, it was reminding me. So sometimes when we're talking to people about wholesale, and we're not deep into wholesale yet, we're learning and we're getting our feet wet. But everyone's always like, I can't find anyone because I don't know, the rejection is too great, or there's not enough.
Me no.
Yeah, they told me no, or there's nothing that's profitable. So
this business is filled with rejection, and it's filled with rejection on all levels. And you mentioned the rejection in wholesale, but for example, if you're starting a private label business, how many products do you have to look through and research before you actually say, hey, this is a good product, I'm going to run with this one? You probably have to look at, hundreds or thousands of products that are junk. If you're doing, retail arbitrage and you go through to a thrift store, to a bookstore, for example, how many books do you have to scan that are junk before you find one that's actually good? Same thing with online arbitrage. How many online deals do you have to look through that suck? And wholesale also. Forget about rejection when you get one of these massive catalogs of 5 or 10,000 products. Maybe 1%, 2% of those items are actually going to work. And then you have rejection on all levels of the business. You have rejection with finding good vendors. You have rejection with people approving you to give you accounts. You have Amazon rejecting listings. You have it's just this business is full of rejection, full of adversity. But that being said, there's still a huge opportunity to make money.
And on that note, everyone should do
anything.
Yeah.
I love
it's so much fun.
You guys, this is why me and Larry connect so well, because we both preach the same thing. Like, this shit is work.
Yeah.
You're never going to just sign up, watch a video and be like, oh, well, Larry said I just call them. And you're
if there was
probably
no
going to get
rejection, we'd all make $1 million a week. If you just buy
man.
anything, sell anything, open an account with anyone, do anything, it would just be like you're printing money. But that being said, people need to realize there are literally millions and millions and millions of products out there. And if you have just a small, tiny fraction of that, it's a huge business that you can build.
Man, I love it. I love that you keep it so real, because it is a lot. It doesn't matter if you do RA, OA, wholesale, whatever. It's all going to be the same premise. Shout out to Callie. We got Callie in the house. She said the more no's that you hear, the closer you are to a yes. Totally true.
And I'll tell you guys another thing, as Amazon progresses and as the business gets bigger and as there are more sellers, only going to be more restrictions, only going to be more rules, only going to be more competition, only going to be more rejection. And, the whole backbone of the business is figuring out a way or a trick or a technique or something to get around all of these different rejections and figure it out. I mean, to me, that's the key to the business, is figure it out. That's like the key word. That's the phrase, figure it out.
Yeah, I was just telling Charles a couple days ago, like, we shouldn't be here. This shouldn't work. What we're doing, we buy stuff and then we sell it on another platform and we make money. We make enough money to support our life.
The lights are still on.
The lights are on. It shouldn't work, right? It's so weird that it works. But for us, at least, it definitely works only because we've made really good relationships as we've gone.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be like in a month where we're like, crap, what's going to happen? And then we talk to one person or have one conversation, even online. And, just so many doors open from small conversations. And we always tell people, if you are going to be in this business and you want to be a hermit, it's probably not going to work out very well.
Yep. I think in wholesale and in retail arbitrage, in those two business models specifically, I think building relationships, whether it's with store owners or, connects for your products or the managers at these stores that you go, retail arbitraging in, to the brands, to the sales reps that you need for wholesale, building relationships with those people is, very, very, very beneficial to you getting a yes when someone else is going to get a no.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And somebody asked earlier, how much would you recommend to get started with for capital wise for wholesale? That's
So to be honest,
pretty hard to answer, but
I don't think it's hard to answer. So obviously, the more you have to start with, the easier wholesale specifically is. I would say like right around 5 to maybe even 10,000 at an absolute minimum. Now, don't get me wrong. There are people that I know for an absolute fact who started with $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, whatever it is, and they've over time they've grown that. So it is possible. It'll just take you a little bit longer, but I would say a good place to start is 5,000. 20, 30, even better. It'll just help you get to those goals faster. Vendors will take you a little bit more seriously. You kind of want to present yourself as a big buyer, person that these vendors want to do business with. Being able to negotiate discounts is, huge, huge, huge key to wholesale. And if you talk a big game and, you're trying to get, 20, 30% off of a vendor's catalog, and then you only have, $1,000 to buy stuff with, it's going to make your life that much more difficult. It's going to make it pretty tough, but it is possible. I know people who do it, but fake it till you make it and start with whatever you can and just grow. I know people who started with $1,000 and turned that 1,000 into 5, 6, 7, 8 over time, and then got the ball rolling.
Nice. That brings me to my next question is, because even in wholesale, there's different business models within wholesale. So let's dive into what do you go for as far as your type of wholesale model? Because some people I know, they only want to target already fast selling products and go deep on those. So they're looking at, a toy that's ranked less than 5,000. So they want to go for those deep, fast movers that with fewer SKUs. Or do you do more of a wide shot approach? And do you take on products that may not have a great rank, but you help the listing get better, run PPC, and to help that brand grow? What's kind of your style that you go for?
So I've never done PPC or ran an ad on Amazon in my life, so I can't give much advice to anything regarding PPC. I know some successful wholesale sellers who have. I don't know too many wholesale sellers who like to mess with products that have a very bad rank. But you definitely, in my opinion, you need to have something, that has a high turnover, because even if the margins are not super high, you want to be able to completely turn your money around in like 30 to 90 days max. So my limit is typically around 35,000 on the rank. But my minimum margin requirement is also pretty high. Like I won't buy a product unless I can make like at least a 30% ROI on it. And that's my business model. I know other people have a business model where, like you said, they'll only buy products that are ranked under 5,000 or 10,000. And these are products that they might only make 10% on. So very, very low margin, but they have a super high turnover. The only thing I would say to that, if I had absolutely no budget, just like, a money printing machine and just can buy as much of anything as I want, then I wouldn't care if I'm making, 50 cents or $1 or 10%, because you just have money, you can buy whatever you want. Buy something that makes 40%, but if you have unlimited funds, why wouldn't you buy something that makes even 3%? So people operate like that. I really don't, because, I'm starting with a finite amount and I'm just trying to grow that initial egg into something. So my business model is, my requirements are, like I said, 30% ROI on a product and roughly around the 35,000 average rank.
Nice. Really good to know.
And you guys, also, I forgot to mention, there's also a minimum dollar amount profit. So for me, that's right around $4. There's some exceptions, plus minus, but right around $4. Some people do wholesale and they want to make like $1 or $1.25. That is not my business model. I don't recommend it unless you have like unlimited loot, and then you can just buy whatever and it doesn't really matter.
Awesome. I love that you give yourself that wiggle room, just because the price tanking does happen, even in the wholesale side too. I can imagine you deal with people that will play with the pricing way lower than most people like.
Yeah, so I mean, it's not $4 is my minimum, let's say, profit when I'm sourcing and when I would buy an item. But then you have price wars and people killing prices. So I typically go to like $2.50 or $3. I have a repricer, obviously, and I set my minimum price. Again, there's exceptions and depending on the product, but I would make as little as $2.50 on a product just to liquidate it, get my money back. I wouldn't reorder that product, but if I'm selling something for 20 and and it's a good item, and then someone kills the price and I have to lower it to 17, but I'm only making $2 and the product is not viable anymore, I'll just get my $2 back. I'll sell that product, I'll take that money, I'll buy something else. But yeah, I'll go as low as $2, not to when buying something new, but just to clear out my inventory. At the end of the day, I don't want to hold on to stuff. I always want my money spinning and rotating. And it's like, I have right now in the US, we have about 3,000 SKUs. At any minute they're working good, I'm going to keep replenishing them, I'm going to keep buying them. But literally every month we lose hundreds and hundreds of products that today are viable and make my minimum requirements, and tomorrow Amazon hops on the listing or someone kills the price. I let them sell out and I just take that money and I buy something else, and I won't replenish them. At the same time, there's a bunch of items that suck today, but tomorrow the price will change on them. The price will go up, people will sell out, whatever. So I'll take that money and just put it back into something that works at the time. So I think one of the secrets to my success, and one of the biggest keys to wholesale, is inventory management, and just how you're pretty much just juggling all these different products from all these different vendors and taking your money and just putting it into what works at the time. Hopefully it works as long as possible. If it doesn't, switch it onto the next. It's just kind of like an inventory management thing.
Nice.
That's awesome that you kind of bring that up, that it's not always easy to keep all of these things, these balls juggling, right? And
not
we
easy
had
at
a
all.
not at all. We had a situation in one of our groups. Somebody had a frustrating buy and was kind of defeated, and people were price tanking, and that was frustrating. And it just happens all the time. It happens. Yeah. So don't get discouraged. Don't get defeated. Keep going. Make your money back. And
how
do
the
it
heck
again.
do you manage all that inventory? Do you have a software you use? Do you sit down once a month and review the whole thing? How do you manage all that?
When I literally, up until a year and a half ago, I was managing everything on Google Sheets. I came up with what I thought was a super intuitive system, but everything was manual. I didn't really know much about any of the softwares out there, but I spent 3 years making my own kind of system, my own method, and it would involve literally 3 days a week. I remember Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I would go to Seller Central. I would sort everything by fulfillable. I would scroll down to where there's inventory that's about to sell out. I would pick a random arbitrary number, and I'm just going to look at everything that has 30 units or less. I would click on the ASIN. I would go through them one by one, see where they're selling, adjust the price if I have to, and then kind of just do research on the spot. Oh, there's only 25 units left. I'm close to selling out. Let me click on the ASIN. Does it still work? Yes, it does. It makes sense. I'll order it. Does it no longer work? Nope. I'm going to cross this one out. Forget about it. Just let it sell out. And I would just do that manually. About a year and a half ago, I found a software developer that I work with, and he kind of helped me bring my manual method into an actual software. So now I have everything automated, and I'm constantly just, putting updates after updates. But now everything is all it's all kind of on autopilot and just done for me. So I come into work, right, and I have this dashboard. It shows all my products that are in stock. It's keeping track of how much inventory I have there. And then based on, my average sales and based on my lead time, it knows when a product is getting close to selling out. It knows the profit. It knows what, how much it's selling for online. And then it'll give me kind of an alert. You need to reorder these, or these you don't need to reorder. And, it kind of just tells me what to buy, what's on order, what not to buy. So definitely helped me out a tremendous amount. I was like up to here. I was drowning when I had to do it all manually.
Oh yeah, that turns into a full-time job for yourself. So that was all custom built for you then. That's amazing.
Correct.
Yeah. We have a couple questions.
Yeah, Gretchen asked, so that's just a personal program for you, not available for purchase, correct?
Correct. I mean, I have plans. When I'm not promoting a software, it's nowhere near, being commercial or anything like that. A dream of mine would be to one day sell it, but I don't have a product to sell. I know there are some softwares that are similar. I think Restock Pro is similar. I've never tried it, but I heard decent things about it. But one thing I will say in the beginning, especially if you're just starting out, first year, first two, I think what gave me a tremendous knowledge of Amazon and how everything works was, doing everything hands-on and doing everything manually. I'm so anal. I was such a control freak. I didn't even want to have a repricer until like 2-3 years in, because I was just so nervous. Like, oh my God, what if it just, sets me to a penny? I was so nervous about doing it, and it took me like such a long time to finally give up that control. But the point that I'm making is, if you're starting out and you just, turn on scanning software and don't do any research by yourself, and you're just like uploading lists and letting the software do it, and the software does your inventory and the software does your just everything, you're not really going to get an understanding for like the ins and outs and the methods and the techniques. You're really not going to know what's going on. I mean, there are software where you can take a wholesale price list and plug it in there, and it'll take about 20 minutes. It'll give you back all the results, and that's what I do now. But in the beginning, looking up these products one by one on the Amazon product page, seeing who's selling it, what the prices are, looking at the Keepa charts, and just like analyzing every situation. And every listing is completely different. It gives you, so much knowledge that when you are ready to automate or build a software or use a software, you just know what you're doing, as opposed to if you start out kind of like with a silver spoon, you'll know very, very little.
And make more mistakes. So
I love that's perfect. Yeah. I tell people that all the time. You're like, you've got to get your hands dirty before you can ever outsource something.
Yeah.
You've got to know exactly how stuff works if you want to outsource that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had questions.
We did. So somebody asked, if you manage to negotiate a discount with a wholesaler, what would you recommend for the minimum to spend? Does that make sense?
So it's not a minimum to spend, right? So you could have, let's say you have $100,000 to spend, you have $100,000, you want to spend it. You might look at a wholesale list and you might only find, 2-3 products that will cost you, $500, $1,000 each. So it's not about how much you should spend. You shouldn't take that whole $100,000 and put it all into one product. How much you buy, especially with a new product, it's determined on the rank, and you want to do like a small little test order. So it's not about what's a minimum to spend. If you found $100,000 worth of, 300 different SKUs and they all meet the minimum criteria, then you can spend the $100,000. But if you have $10,000 to buy stuff and you only find 1 or 2 products, you buy $500 or $1,000 worth of each, and that other 8 is just sitting there. You don't have to spend it. You don't have to spend the money unless you actually have the stuff to buy first. So the way I look at it is, if you have $5,000, find $10,000 worth of different SKUs to buy, and then make the decision on buy the best $5,000 worth of it.
I'm looking. And then somebody asked, they've just expanded over to Amazon UK. Any UK specific tips?
UK is a big part of my business. I'm actually more than UK than US. We're about 60-40. Any UK specific tips? Pretty much not. It's all the same exact thing. It's just, instead of looking up products in the US, you're looking them up on the UK, and you're kind of analyzing them the same way.
Awesome. Let's see.
I like that one. What would be, so let's say everything's stripped away, you have $10,000 and you have a brand new Amazon account. What's your first couple tips or steps into breaking into wholesale?
So my first couple of tips right off the bat, if everything was stripped away from me, or if you're just brand new and you're starting out.
Brand new. Put yourself back into those shoes you first started in.
So you need to, so in wholesale, you need to kind of like building a real business, you need to lay a groundwork and a foundation for your business to make your company appear as legit as possible to the different manufacturers and the different wholesalers that you're reaching out to. So you need a tax ID, you need to be incorporated, that's a must. Very important, not necessary. I work my way around it, but another very important thing is to try to get a commercial address. If you're new or just starting out, you're not going to go out and rent an office right away. But if you have that, that's a big help. Having a website, I would say a website and a tax ID and a business are bare minimum. And then you just get out there and, hit the phones, so to speak, and just say hello to a bunch of people, shake a lot of hands, and just try to open accounts with vendors and negotiate prices, fight for discounts, fight for deals, and try to find 1, 2, 3, 5 products that work. You have 10 grand, you might only find one product for $1,000 or $2,000 from a vendor. You buy it, you send it in, and then, you're just back on to trying to find more. And you're trying to grow your SKU count. You might start out with 1 or 2 products in your catalog, and then you turn that into 3, and then 4, and then 5, and then 10, and just try to build a business that way. But I would say, barrier to entry, probably need a couple of $1,000, need a website, need a corp, need a tax ID. Business email will definitely help as opposed to like a Gmail account. And then there's different things that you can do more advanced when you're trying to legitimize your business. But in the beginning, you just want to legitimize, be able to, have a little swagger, negotiate some discount with vendors, and just start finding replenishable products for your business.
Perfect. Do you call when you're trying to open up a wholesale account with somebody? Do you call or do you email?
I do both. I would definitely say, though, if you actually call and speak to people, you will get a lot further than if you just email people. But you have to kind of, be personable and know what you're doing. If you call and sound like an absolute rookie, like that's your first time ever placing any kind of order, it won't get you too far. But calling is always better. A lot of times you email, you won't hear a response back. But if you can call and, call the company up, tell them you're a business, you're interested in opening an account with them. How do you open an account? How do you get a catalog? It's pretty simple. I would definitely recommend calling over emailing.
So you don't have some big fancy script. You just ask them what they want.
He's looking for the magic pill.
Yeah, no, it's just kind of nonchalant. If you have if you have a real business, you just call up and, hey, I'm calling from XYZ Electronics. We're an electronics distributor. We're an electronics, retailer. We're interested in opening an account with you guys. Can you let me know how I open an account, how I get a catalog, how I start? And then that's it.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So you guys are trying to prove a point. It's much more simple than people make it out to be.
And making those phone calls, you will get rejected.
Yes, but I mean, you shouldn't. If you have a legitimate business, you should not get rejected from opening an account with any distributor. You might get rejected if you are trying to get approval to sell a particular brand on Amazon. You might get rejected in the sense where, you've opened an account with them, but the pricing is no good. So there aren't, really a lot of SKUs that make money. You might get rejected and not get a discount. But as far as opening accounts, that's easy, and the business, it is simple, whether it's OA, RA, wholesale, private label, like the concept of Amazon, nothing is complicated. Everything is super easy. OA, you're just scanning stuff, and RA, you're just scanning stuff, and wholesale, I'm just scanning stuff, and private label, you're just looking for good products. It's all super simple, but that's not to say it isn't hard and there isn't a lot of work involved. It's just not super complicated work. It's not rocket science. It's not, you don't need to be a mad scientist to scan, 50,000 books, a day, but it's a lot of work, but it's not, complicated.
Yeah.
So Martin asked, what is the cost of getting a tax ID in Oregon? So we live in Oregon as well, so I can answer that one for you. A tax ID is what comes with any type of like LLC or corp. So it doesn't matter if you live in Oregon. I think what you're referring to is the sales tax, like a reseller certificate, which Oregon does not have. But if you go to Oregon.gov or just type in Oregon reseller certificate, Oregon has like a mock-up version we can give wholesalers if they ask for it, which most of them are going to ask for some type of ID in that sense. So that's what we send to the ones that we do, and they all accept it that way.
And Elliot asked, should you openly tell distributors that you sell on Amazon, or should you avoid that?
So it depends on the relationship you have with the rep. It's kind of like a don't ask, don't tell policy. So I know that a lot of brands specifically have like if you were to ask, can I sell this product on Amazon from a brand direct, they would say no. But at the same time, there's tons of people selling it and they're not actively policing the marketplace or trying to remove those sellers. So it's kind of like a don't ask, don't tell policy. I would, when you're sourcing these products, I would keep an eye for stuff that maybe looks suspicious, that there aren't a lot of sellers on, that the brand is on the listing. So you might want to stay away from those kind of products. If you have a good relationship with a sales rep and you order like, 10, 20 different brands, I like to tell all my reps, hey, if you know that there's a specific, product or brand that the brand owner doesn't want me selling on Amazon, please let me know. So, I might, order, 20, 30 different brands, and they might say, hey, this brand, you should be careful about this brand. They give people problems, and then I just won't mess with it. But it's like a don't ask, don't tell policy. If they ask me, do you sell on Amazon? I don't try to give them like an Amazon-centric answer. I try to tell them that we sell everywhere. Yes, I sell on Amazon. I also sell on Amazon UK. I also sell on Amazon Australia. We do Mexico. We do Walmart. We do Jet. We do eBay. We sell everywhere. We sell on Amazon and we sell everywhere else. And we also sell in our retail store and we also sell on our website. If there's any specific place you don't want me selling this product, that's fine. Let me know. You don't want it on Amazon? Fine. You don't want it on eBay? Fine. You want it only on my website? Fine. Just let me know. But if they ask me about it, I would say we sell everywhere. I wouldn't present myself as just an Amazon seller. And that goes back to, you want to build up a little bit of legitimacy for your business. That's why you need a website and a corp and this and that. You don't want to just come off as, hey, I'm an Amazon seller that just, sits out of my garage flipping things on Amazon. You want to present yourself like a business that does business everywhere. And Amazon is just one of your many different sales channels.
Awesome.
Perfect. Is there a reason why the UK is a bigger part of your business?
I just started in the UK first. So when I first started doing Amazon, I actually worked for someone else. I was just like an employee. I was also very, very good friends with the guy. I was doing something else with this person, not Amazon related, but at the same time, he was running and building a big Amazon FBA business. He's the one who taught me about Amazon. I didn't even know selling on Amazon existed. But at the time he was building his business, he said, hey, listen, there's this thing called Amazon UK. And we can sell over there and we can make money just the same way. But, I can't do it. I'm busy with the US. If you want, I'll make you a partner. You do all the work. You figure out the UK market. We'll split the profits 3 ways. And you kind of just, put me in there. And I worked for him for 2 years before starting my own business. But, so when I started my own business 2 years after that, I already knew the UK. I knew what products worked. So I just it was just luck that I started off there.
Nice, man.
You started with the hard stuff first.
Yeah.
That's good.
How do you find the phone numbers to call? Google wholesalers or just start calling?
Well, you got to first Google the wholesalers before you have the numbers to start calling.
And are
so,
you?
And what I like to tell people if you just, I'm sorry to cut you off. If you just,
yeah, you're good.
If you just Google wholesalers, so there's a difference between the term wholesaler, which a lot of times is just a middleman with horrible pricing, and an actual big national distributor. That's who you're looking for. You're looking for distributors, or you want to go to the brands direct. But one bit of advice that I always tell people, right? So if you're opening up a grocery store in your city, if you're opening up a electronics store, if you're opening up a clothing store, a video game store, a furniture store, whatever it is, put yourself in the position of someone who is opening up a grocery store, where would that person, if you're opening up a grocery store in Brooklyn, New York, where would that person go? Where does the person go to get the products to stock their shelves? Those are the businesses and distributors and brands that you need to find out. That's who you're going after. So not just random wholesalers online, but put yourself in the shoes of a retailer and try to figure out, if you had this real brick and mortar business, where would you be getting your supplies from? If you guys know a store owner that, owns a vitamin store somewhere, and you can ask them, where do they get their stuff from?
No, that's perfect. That was kind of the question I was leaning towards is, so you go in and there's kind of two different areas, right? You can type in grocery wholesale and you're going to find all these different websites. Do you do just the websites, or do you have, like, if I type in grocery wholesale for Portland, we've got Portland distributors and manufacturers around here too. So what do you feel that people should keep an eye out for as far as the local versus ordering online type of deal?
You would do both. So, I mean, if I was in Portland, I would just Google, biggest grocery distributor in Portland, Portland grocery wholesalers, Portland grocery distributors, national grocery distributor, biggest grocery distributor in America, just things like that. There's no right or wrong way to do it. You just kind of have to do a lot of research and, speaking to rejection, every facet of the business, you have to wade through a lot of really, crappy wholesalers and distributors until you find some solid ones.
Perfect. I've got a real life scenario for you. So got a hold of a local distributor. They have great products. They've got pretty decent ranks, and they're offering 15% discount on the first order. And the products are just at a break even. Is that a product you would even consider going in on to establish that relationship for a better discount to bring my profit up for the next round? Or is that something you just won't even look at?
I mean, to that particular scenario, it depends on, what potential there is there for future business. So I don't like the idea of buying, a bunch of products just to break even on them. I would probably take a pass on that. But if something I don't, and there's the potential to do larger business in the future and get much more of a discount down the road, maybe it's worth it to do that, to have that relationship open. But, if they're giving you 15% on an opening order, I would ask them, hey, in the future, if I'm doing $20,000, $30,000, $50,000 a month worth of business with you, do you guys ever do 20, 30% discounts? I like to tell distributors that I need a discount, let them know that the better the discount I get, the more business I am going to do with them. And just that 15%, it's, there's really nothing there for me. But, again, it really depends on that situation. If you know something I don't, maybe in the future you build a relationship, and maybe the rep hinted to him that, hey, in the future we'll give you 25, 30%, maybe it's worth it. But, just like that, to open the account and break even on those products, I probably wouldn't do it. What I might do is, in that particular situation, I would research their catalog at 20% off, and maybe you'll find some items that actually work. And then I would give that vendor a list. These are the products I want, but this is the pricing I need. Can you give me this price? I know it's not 15%, it's 20%, but just give them the list of the products you want at the price that you need. Forget their price, forget their 15%, tell them what you need the pricing to be. And maybe some SKUs they can do it. They have a little bit more wiggle room. Maybe on other SKUs they can't. But yeah, I don't like the sound of buying something just to break even and build a relationship, unless you for sure know there's, something good is going to come out of that relationship.
Perfect. I love it.
That's
Thank you.
Good answer. Someone was asking minimum reviews you look for when you're on an existing listing. So I'm not sure if they mean reviews or rank.
Right, product reviews.
So rank, my minimum rank is, or maximum rank rather, is 35,000, but it depends on the category. In the big categories, 35,000 is pretty good. There are some like smaller categories like industrial and scientific where 35,000 isn't good. So you I want a rank that's a little bit better. I don't really look too much at reviews because I'm looking for products that have a good, stable, average rank. So I know the product is selling really well. But to speak of rank, the one bit of advice I can give you is if you see a product that has a really good rank, like 5,000, 10,000, 15,000, whatever it is, and there's very, very little feedback or no feedback, you have to be careful because that might be a product where the average rank is really terrible, 100, 200,000, and it doesn't sell at all. But maybe the day before you're looking at the product or 6 hours before you're looking at the product, someone randomly bought it and the rank just spiked up. So now it looks like a 25,000 rank product or a 10,000 rank product, but it's really not. So when a good rank product has no feedback, I find that a little suspicious. But when I speak to rank, I don't mean just today's rank. I'm looking for an average rank. I want to know that the average 90-day rank or 60-day rank is 10,000, because then it's really 10,000. There can be a product with an average rank of 100,000 that you're looking at it today. It looks you found the product that's ranked 10K, but it's really not.
Perfect. And with that, everyone on this channel by now should be using Keepa, KEEPA.com. You can add in the Chrome extension. Keepa is how you look at the price and rank history on any product on there.
Mm-hmm.
What programs do you use to run your business?
So I use everything custom. My repricer and my inventory management and my sourcing tools are all things that I built myself. I use some of the extensions like you mentioned. So I use Keepa. Let me see. I'm just looking at the top of my bar. So I have, let's see. I have Keepa. I have RevSeller, and I have DS Amazon Quick View. And those are the 3 Chrome extensions that I use. There was also one called clickandlabel.com, which is an extension that helps you print labels, but those guys kind of suck. They offer no customer service. I think they stopped working. But yes, aside from tools, I do everything myself. Before, I used to use third-party software. So I had a repricer. I used Teikametrics. They charge like $500 per account. I was using it at one point on 5 different Amazon accounts. So I was paying like $2,500 a month. $500 a month is very expensive for a repricer. But then I just thought, the amount I'm spending on it, 5,000-10,000, you can have someone build a repricer for you, custom, doing it exactly, tailored for your business. So I just went that approach. I know people use, Restock Pro, Seller Engine, Tactical Arbitrage. There's a ton of good products out there, I'm sure. I just don't want to recommend one because I've never used them myself.
Perfect. Man, you got one heck of a developer team.
Yeah.
Well, I listen, it's not some crazy team. I found the guy on Upwork. He lives overseas. It's a one-man show. Man. It's not a big some kind of big company. It's just one developer.
Man, skills. I love it. You can get anything done on Upwork, guys. I love it.
Yeah.
Somebody asked if you think the UK buyers kind of behave the same as the US ones.
Yep, they do. I think the main difference between UK and US is, so there's a bigger barrier to entry into the UK market. If you're doing it from US, you have to handle logistics, you have to ship into the UK. That's a little bit expensive. Also, if you're just starting out and you have $1,000 or $2,000 or not a lot of inventory, to really get good price breaks shipping overseas, you have to ship pallets, and you want to ship multiple pallets at that. So if you're just trying to ship boxes, not going to work, going to be too expensive. If you're trying to ship, a pallet, depending on how many different units and how heavy it is, maybe, but you just have to scale up to do more UK to make the shipping make sense. Otherwise, everything works the same. The taxes are a little bit different. The currency conversion is different, and that's a big benefit. There's less competition, less sellers in the UK because of that barrier to entry. But again, there's pros and cons to everything. There's definitely a lot of pros in the UK. Getting paid in pounds and a conversion of about 1.4 dollars to the pound awesome, less competition, awesome. But shipping, freight, cargo overseas, and dealing with the VAT taxes and all of that, a little bit more complicated, but pros and cons.
Nice. And final chance, if you guys want questions answered, we'll do rapid fire. So drop those below. What are your thoughts on Jungle Scout? You use that at all?
I don't really use that, but from what I understand, Jungle Scout is more geared towards private label business. If someone is familiar with Jungle Scout and you can explain to me or show me how I can use it to benefit my wholesale business or a OA or a RA business, totally willing to give it a shot, but I just don't know how you use Jungle Scout for a wholesale based business.
Cool.
We are, I don't know, we're
random
wrapping
questions?
up.
I got one. You ready?
Charles has one.
How tall are you?
I am 6'6".
I knew you were tall.
6'7", yeah.
I
Holy
knew you
cow.
were tall. You just got one of those tall looking faces, I guess.
What do you mean?
Like this guy has got to be at least 6'4".
Yeah, no, I'm 6'6", man. I'm tall.
Dude, that's amazing.
That's funny.
Is he the 7% of Amazon sellers from Brooklyn?
Yes, I believe I am. I think he's referring to like a meme or a post that I posted, which said, I'll take a look at it. It said something like,
Oh, the stats.
Yeah, man, it was okay. I'm not in that stat because I'm not in that zip code. I'm actually, so here's what it says. It says one zip code in Brooklyn accounts for 7% of all Amazon third-party sellers worldwide. I don't know if you guys can see that.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, wow.
So you guys, Larry's being modest. He's like, that's not my zip code. I would be the top 1%.
No, so especially in Brooklyn, I would say probably Brooklyn is one of the biggest, oversaturated market. There's so many big wholesale and just Amazon sellers and private label sellers in Brooklyn. I think I know they don't say what zip code it is. I think I know what zip code they're talking about. I think it's Sunset Park. Because that's like a very industrial area, tons and tons and tons of warehouses. So I just think there's just, by default, there's so many different sellers there, big and small. So I think that's how they came up with that stat. I don't think it's, I'm in Red Hook, so I think it's not my location. I don't think there's too many people doing Amazon in Red Hook. But I will tell you, Brooklyn holds it down as far as Amazon is concerned. Ton of big business comes from Brooklyn.
Wow. We've never been to like New York area.
No.
So
Gosh,
I don't even
visit, man.
I can't even wrap my head around
live from the warehouse.
Dude, that'd be fun.
That'd be
Let's
awesome.
do it.
Yeah.
I want to address this one real quick because I saw it was brought up. Talking about they were talking about liquidation and bulk.com being cheaper than wholesale, such as pallets of the same products from liquidators. Let me touch base on that. Liquidation items is not wholesale. Liquidation items are going to be customer returns, damaged goods. They're liquidation. And if anyone that follows my channel, you know that I did liquidation pallets. That was 2 years ago. Amazon was much more lenient on products, and I do not recommend you use any liquidation on Amazon currently. That's eBay. Yeah, you can make tons of money on eBay with that stuff. But that's a different ballgame.
It's wild west.
Totally different business model. It's not wholesale. It's totally different business model. That being said, it goes back to the mantra of figure it out. I'm sure there's people who figured out how to do liquidation in regards to Amazon and probably make, hundreds of thousands and millions of dollars. I'm absolutely sure of it, but different business model. I don't like it. You're kind of buying blind. You don't know what you're getting. So, it's a big gamble, and there's no consistency in it. You're buying stuff, you're getting stuff, you're flipping it. I like the idea of, replenishable products where, you have a catalog and you're building that catalog and you're growing off of that, as opposed to just, random liquidation deals. Sometimes some of my vendors or, more so distributors have closeouts, couple of items here and there, very small quantities. I don't even typically look at those because, it's just going to take so much of my time researching stuff only for, 3 pieces of this, 6 pieces of that, 1 piece of that. It'll take so much work adding, if you get a liquidation pallet and there's 1,000 products on it and there are 1,000 different SKUs. Imagine you have one product of 1,000 different SKUs. It's going to be a nightmare listing all of that stuff, and it might not be worth it. But, that being said, I'm sure people have figured it out.
Keep it on eBay.
Yeah, just keep it on eBay. And Amazon won't take those
invoices. Those will not get you. No, Amazon. Here's why Amazon is getting strict, guys. It all comes down to the paper trail. They want proof of authenticity to give their customers the best quality products. That's all. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah.
An invoice saying I bought this gaylord of damaged toys is not going to get you out of hot water if you're put into it. This is a good one. Do you go directly to brands and manufacturers, or do you go through distributors? And what's the difference between the two for those that don't know?
I do both. It's always better to go to the brand direct if you can. Some brands don't sell direct. Some distributors can, believe it or not, give better pricing than going to the brand direct. But I always try to figure out both and just kind of go to where the better pricing is. If you can go directly to the brand, it's always better. Sometimes it's easier to go to a distributor. Sometimes there's less hoops to jump through if you're going through a distributor as opposed to going through a brand direct. A lot of times also, if you want to go through a brand direct, there might be a higher barrier to entry in terms of how much money you have to spend, big purchase orders. I know some like that, we have accounts with Procter & Gamble and stuff like that. You have, or, Johnson & Johnson, you have to buy like $500,000 of stuff at a clip. They only sell to you by the truckload. So, but it all depends, case by case basis. Typically and usually it's better to go brand direct.
Perfect. And do people who live in the middle of nowhere have a harder time with wholesale, or is it an even playing field for everyone?
I would think it's an even playing field. I think you would even have, I think if I moved to the Midwest, I would have a better advantage because I would save, I don't know how much my shipping would be overseas because, where I'm located on the East Coast. So everything when I ship to the UK, it goes from JFK. But aside from that, the expenses of having a big warehouse in New York, very expensive. My rent is very expensive. And to that end, 95% of the brands and distributors that I deal with are on a national level and not just on a local Brooklyn, New York level. So, if I moved, I wouldn't lose virtually any of my business. They would just all ship to the Midwest, where I would have a warehouse, 10 times the size for a quarter of the price, and probably better taxes, saving money on that, so.
I'm not even going to complain about our little office space build next time it comes.
Right.
You want to tackle the next one?
I'm not even sure where we're at.
If you create an e-commerce website to get wholesale deals, starting out to create a catalog on your website, or do you use drop shipping products?
So
probably not going to be drop shipping, right?
So you can do both. I mean, you can have a general website where it's just talking about you as a business. We're a retailer, we're a distributor, a couple of pages, an about us section, and that's it. Keep it simple. That works. The more advanced you get with a website, obviously, if it looks legit and acts the part, the more there's different levels of legitimizing your business. So regular, plain old website is fine. If you have an e-commerce website and it looks like a big, busy, legitimate e-commerce website, that's better. When I built my sites, what I did was I just populated it with big brand name products from Amazon. I don't expect people to buy from my website, so the pricing isn't super low. It's high on my website. If I get like one freak order out of nowhere, out of the blue on my website, I can just then go to Amazon and buy that product and, sell it on my website. But, we're not opening these websites to expect to, do any actual business on them. So I'm not super worried about that. But if you're putting products on your website, I would put them for more than what they're selling for on Amazon. So in the off chance that someone buys it, you can just get the product and send it to them. But, if you're not promoting your website, no one's finding it. No one's buying anything from it.
Yeah, that's the beauty of Amazon, guys. We get to tap into their customers. Like we don't have to market to that. They're doing all the heavy lifting on that. About getting ungated, do you buy first and then see if you get ungated?
So it depends. If you're talking about, well, you have to buy first, right, to get ungated. So if you want to get ungated in grocery, or you want to get ungated in topical, if you want to get ungated in a category, you need to, do a small order, have an invoice to show them. So you have to buy first. If there's a product I want in topical, I'm not going to buy, before I'm ungated, I'm not going to buy 100 pieces of it. I'm going to buy the minimum, which is what they require on an invoice, 12 units or 10 units. I think Amazon wants to see you make a small purchase, but now you have the invoice and whatever other information that they want, so you can provide it to them. I'm ungated and everything, but a lot of times there are certain products that you try to list and the brand is gated, so they require an invoice, or a letter from the brand, which is a lot harder to get, but usually an invoice from a legit distributor or vendor works. But there's a product that I might want to buy 200 of them, but the product is gated, so I'll buy 12 pieces, I'll buy a case, I'll have an invoice, I'll send them the invoice, I'll get approved, then I could buy a lot more of it. So yeah, you kind of have to buy first and have that invoice before you can do anything.
Nice. And do you do trade shows, or is it just all over the phone? It kind of sounds like you're on the phone a lot.
Yeah, I've never been to a trade show. I never even knew that kind of concept existed as far as, for the wholesale business. But, the beauty of Amazon is there are so many people, especially since I started watching Amazon and been on social media and met so many other people doing the same thing. There's so many different methods and, techniques that people use that are completely different. And no one is right or wrong. No one is better than the other. There's so many different ways to do the same thing that we're all doing. And I met a couple of really big wholesalers that do trade shows and have, good success in it. I think Eddie Levine, who's someone I think you interviewed before. I know he goes to trade shows and, he kills it on Amazon. He wouldn't be going to trade shows if it wasn't worth his time. So I don't have much experience to it, but, there's money to be made everywhere if you kind of just, figure it out.
I like that too, because some people feel like they, we have a baby. We can't leave every time there's a trade show, but this business can be done, all different ways. You don't have to be at every single trade show in the country to make this work. It can work, make it work the way you need it to work.
Yeah, it's not necessary. I've never been to a trade show in my life, but I will tell you, I can understand how actually meeting executives or brand owners or VPs or even sales reps from companies, meeting them in person and they look you in the eyes and you shake their hand and you do business with them. I can definitely see that being more beneficial in terms of building relationships with them than just doing email or just doing it over the phone.
Yeah,
100%.
I'm thinking about so we've only been doing this 2.5 years.
Almost 2.5, yeah.
You've been doing this for 6 years.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
I'm gonna be Larry when I
always think of Amazon back when we started was the wild, wild west, but you probably were there any rules? Did you?
No, it was literally the wild, wild west back then. It was and it's only going to get harder. There's only going to be more competition, but back then. So I started at the end of 2012. Working for, I think it was middle of 2012 actually, but I spent 2 years working for someone else, completely wild west at that time. FBA was more or less like a brand new thing. Very little people doing it, very little sellers selling online, margins through the roof, almost like a gold rush, too good to be true. But, like I said, I've been only doing my own Amazon business. We started in 2014. May 2014 is when I incorporated and started my own business. So, a couple of months from now will be 4 years that I've been actually doing a Amazon business on my own. But you can say I had 2 years of training before then.
Awesome.
Perfect. What time do you wake up each day?
I'm trying to be one of those guys like Jocko Willink who wakes up at 5:30 or 5 o'clock, but I find that super tough. I try to wake up every day at 6, but realistically I usually wake up at 6:30, but very well aware that I should be waking up earlier. Just not easy, not gonna lie.
No, it's so hard when you don't have a boss to answer to.
Very tough. I tell people this all the time. It's so weird how now that when you go self-employed, you realize how easy it was to have a job because you have motivation not to get fired. So it's easy to wake up early and get to a job. The second you become self-employed and you don't have that motivation of, oh crap, I might get fired today, It's the laziness and procrastination, man.
It's not even
brutal.
motivation. I follow, like everyone else probably does. I follow on social media a lot of super, super, super successful entrepreneurs, and you look at them and they wake up at 4:30, 5 o'clock every morning, and you realize you get so much more out of your day, and that's what you should be doing. For me personally, it's not the waking up early part that's hard. It's the going to bed early. Like I need like 6 hours of sleep, so I can wake up at 5 or at 6. I just need to fall asleep by 10, 11. I can't do it. I put in long hours of work. I come home at night. I spend an hour with my kid, and then me and my wife relax and watch some TV. I usually go to sleep like at around midnight, and it's tough to wake up at 5 if you can't can't unwind and be asleep by like 11. But it's tough.
I did a Facebook Live in our VIP group just before this call, and I said that exact same thing. So I'm challenging everyone starting Monday to wake up early. And I said that same thing. It's not getting up early. It's the hard part. It's going to bed earlier because as entrepreneurs, I don't know what it is, but it's like 10 o'clock. My brain starts rapid firing.
And I'm like a normal person. We have shows that we watch, and I love TV and I love movies and I love like the shows that we watch, and I want to get home and I don't want to go to sleep right away. I know I should. I'd probably get a lot more done if I was going to sleep at 10 and waking up at 5. But it's something that I definitely want to work on.
It's always a work in progress.
It's on my to-do list.
I think we've taken up enough of your time, Larry.
Bum, we are at the hour.
Yep.
Larry, my friend, it's been too long. We should have done this much sooner. We've been talking ever since you started your account. We've been talking. It's been over a year now.
Helped me out tremendously as far as the social media and starting my YouTube channel. I definitely don't make as many long form videos on YouTube as I should, but I try to make real good, helpful, free content for people. So if anyone is interested in wholesale specifically, because there are a ton of people on YouTube who talk about private label, probably too many, bunch of bullshit gurus on there also, bunch of people who talk about online arbitrage and retail arbitrage. Very, very few people actually talk about wholesale. Even fewer actually talk about wholesale and do wholesale at the same time. So if you're interested in that, I have, I think, like only 7 or 8 videos on YouTube, but subscribe if you're interested in wholesale. I think there's a great deal of value to those videos. And if you want to keep up with me daily, Watch Me Amazon on Instagram is, pretty cool, just more for like motivational and, short form content. But yeah, just want to keep putting it on, keep, helping people. This business literally changed my life. I was in a bad place before I found Amazon. I kind of just fell into it, luckily, but I was, in my 30s, living back at home with my mom, $100,000 in debt, didn't have a dollar to my name, was just so down and out and depressed and negged out, and, didn't know what I was going to do. And the business literally, it's not when a lot of people preach it as you want to work from the beach, they sell it as this sexy thing where you'll make millions of dollars and you don't have to lift a finger, just buy this course or whatever. It's not like that. But if you are interested in taking your time and investing money and investing time and brick by brick building a long-term business, I personally think being a seller on Amazon or, an entrepreneur in general is just one of the best businesses that anyone can do. I owe a great deal to it. And I think that's a good note to end on. But the business truly changed my life. And if you're the type of person who is willing to put in that work, it can absolutely happen to you. I didn't have any kind of special hookup. I didn't have any kind of special connection. Put in the work, learn, work hard, do the right things. Definitely has the potential to change your life.
Amazing, man.
And there's so much. That's awesome. We're always like thinking of ways that we can help other people learn. And there's just so much of the pie that's available to everyone. This is a really cool business in that we're not it's not so cutthroat. You know, there's so much information and there's so much opportunity to go around, and we appreciate you and all the information you put out. Just that you're willing to help other people and be open and free with that knowledge is so awesome.
Thank you. And I appreciate you guys as well. And I appreciate both of yous having me on. Truly appreciate it. Love talking to other people all doing the same thing. I definitely think it's time for both of you guys, especially now I think you have an office. I think it's time for both of you guys to focus more on wholesale and start slowly building up that business, because I think, you know, could financially drastically change your life as well.
We're
Absolutely.
ready. Absolutely.
Yeah. The transition is here.
Yeah.
Let's do it. If you guys need any help, you know, always, you have my number. Feel free to message me, hit me up anytime. You know, if you guys need anything, I'm more than happy to help you.
Awesome,
Great.
man. Appreciate
Thank
it. If
you.
you guys want to check out Larry, check out his YouTube channel. It will be in the description below. You can click on that link and go subscribe. If you're not following him on Instagram, watch me Amazon. He posts daily behind the scenes.
Excellent content.
Awesome content.
Thank you.
Yep.
So thank you.
guys.
We appreciate it.
All right.
Good night, everyone.
Everybody, have a good night.
Have a great night, guys.